Legends aren't born, they're created. The world of One Piece is one constantly being influenced by both legends of the past and legends in the making, and our story very appropriately tells the tale of Straw Hat Luffy, the greatest legend of them all. When talking about Luffy, his journey to the top, and the foundational aspects of what make him a great leader, and more importantly a great protagonist, it's hard not to bring his role model Shanks into the conversation. But what more is there really to say? Despite the near-infinite hype around his character and the profound level of influence he has had on the events of the story, he is barely a part of it. Shanks has made a direct appearance in only 85 pages of the One Piece manga, and yes, I counted. One Piece is roughly 19,300 pages long. To put that in perspective, this guy has gotten more on-panel time than our friendly red-haired captain, which goes to show that Shanks is not a special character because of how much he shows up, but rather because of when he shows up and what he does when he's on screen. Shanks is a man who knows the game, its players, and how to maneuver around them. He always seems to know more than he's letting on, and has a track record of involvement in the most vital events in the story, the most important of which being the debut of Monkey D. Luffy as a pirate, a moment that catalyzed almost every major event to follow from Chapter 1. As of the Chapter 1044 reveal that the Gum Gum Fruit is actually the power formerly held by Joy Boy, the One Piece community collectively shat their pants and scrambled to explain how we ended up here. Everyone wants an answer to the sudden, glaring question: how much does this guy really know? Welcome once again to the Hidden Island, a seabound speakeasy coming to you from the deep all blue. And today, we're gonna try and explain how the story of One Piece truly began. Before we begin, if you enjoy the show today, please make sure to like and subscribe to keep the music alive. Every little bit matters, and we are getting so close to 5k subs, which is a personal goal of mine for this year, but whatever. Anyway, if you were here with me last time in my Yet Another Gear 5th video, I explained at the end how I thought Luffy's relationship to the Nika fruit was comparable to King Arthur's relationship with the sword and the stone. To briefly summarize, the moral of King Arthur's story was that you cannot be born into greatness. It's the quality of your character that determines how great you are, not your blood. You can possess whatever title or status that comes with your name, but it cannot make you a good leader or king. A good king, a real king, must understand and learn the ways of the world, the problems of its people, and the lives they lead every day. To be a proper king, Arthur first had to learn how to be a proper human, and that was made possible by his mentor, a wizard named Merlin. Merlin, seeing the positive qualities in him, took Arthur under his wing and taught him how to be a good man. Merlin shaped and molded Arthur from a commoner into the leader he would later become. And when it comes to One Piece, I feel that Oda set up a comparable relationship between Luffy and Shanks. Shanks' good nature, love for the high seas, and direct experience with the Pirate King made him an excellent teacher. Luffy's pure qualities, his humble background, and his infatuation with the idea of freedom made him the perfect candidate for king. However, there is a key difference in this setup. While Arthur was the long-lost son of the previous king, Luffy is the son of no king at all. He was a commoner from birth, and thus, Luffy was not the chosen one in a traditional storytelling sense. That burden fell on someone else. You see, I believe that Shanks didn't come to Fuchsia Village with Luffy in mind, that Luffy was not a part of the equation until he forced his way in. What am I talking about? Well, Shanks is a former Roger pirate, presumably with some extensive knowledge on how the world works. His past is a mystery to us now, but we do know that he showed up on a very specific island in the East Blue, with arguably the rarest and most important devil fruit in the entire world. And you know, he liked the island so much that he made it his base for an entire year. But why would he do that, especially with something so important in his possession? The reason is simple. This island was not only home to Luffy, but also the long-lost son of the Pirate King. Portgas D. Ace. In other words, the Gum Gum fruit was intended for Ace, not Luffy. Ace was supposed to inherit Roger's will and Joy Boy's power. Ace was supposed to herald the dawn of the world. Roger himself thought that Ace would be the one to succeed him, and it's safe to assume that all his followers did as well, Shanks included. The original plan was likely to find Ace, give him the fruit, and fulfill the legacy that Roger left behind. Let's think about this for a second. The Red Hair crew just get done stealing an incredible treasure from CP9, the very power of Joy Boy himself. Then Shanks and his men, a bunch of Grand Line pirates, go from the Grand Line all the way out to a quiet, remote island in East Blue, which also happens to be the same exact island that Roger's son is hidden on. But the key word here is hidden. Wink wink. Maybe they had some reason to believe that Ace was on Dawn Island, but I think that when they got there, Ace was nowhere to be found. Keep in mind, Ace not only had his mother's family name, Portgas, but was tucked away in the mountains so well that even the world government, with all their intel and resources, couldn't find him. And in the time the crew spent looking for Ace, they encountered a young boy named Luffy, who they quickly became friends with. Important to note here that Luffy and Ace did not know each other at this point. Luffy and Ace are not brothers yet, and as far as the everyday person is concerned, Roger never had a kid. So what does Shanks do? Take voyages, possibly looking for a certain prodigal child, using the town as his base of operations. All the while, Luffy persistently badgers them to take him out to sea, and Shanks consistently refuses Luffy, saying he's not suited for a life of piracy. He teases him over being a child. He tells Luffy to ask him again in 10 years. This initial response is what makes me think that Shanks did not take him seriously. Despite his fondness for Luffy, he did not want to recruit him into a pirate's life yet. There was no urgency, but this all changed later on that fateful day when Luffy accidentally ate the Gum Gum fruit. So here's the dilemma. The fruit that was supposed to go to Ace is now irreversibly claimed by Luffy. Was the 800-year-old prophecy wrong, or was it the will possessed by devil fruits at work here? When Luffy decided to stand up for Shanks and pick the fight with Higuma, Shanks came to the rescue. When Luffy was kidnapped and brought to the ocean, Shanks sacrificed his arm to save Luffy's life, but this was more than a gesture of friendship. As we later learn, Shanks claimed to have made a bet on the New Age. He gave up his arm before Luffy said he would become Pirate King. He had already made his bet before he gave Luffy the Straw Hat. All of Luffy's values and ideals as a pirate were taught to him by the Red Hair crew. They showed him how great freedom can be, how to be the bigger man, and the value of defending those you care about. They even taught him the song Bink's Sake, which has been theorized to connect to Laugh Tale, and Luffy quotes a lyric from this song when he's in Gear 5. Anyway, I'm rambling, but the point I'm trying to raise is that Luffy was shaped into who he is by Shanks, and now it's a possibility that this was all intentional. There's a real likelihood now that Shanks accepted Luffy and chose to shape him into a model pirate. And so before he leaves Fuchsia Village for good, Shanks tells Luffy to become a great pirate and leaves the straw hat with him. A hat that was formerly worn by Roger and was probably meant for his son instead, but Shanks had already made his choice. He placed his full faith and trust in Luffy to live up to his dream. He made his bet and brought Luffy into a life of high seas piracy. The giving of the straw hat had such a profound effect on Luffy that it became a part of his very identity, and it's right in our face from the beginning as the shining symbol of our story. Every time you look at the One Piece logo, the Straw Hat flag, or Luffy himself, the hat looks back at us as a visual reminder of the bet that Shanks made all those years ago. This hat changed the course of the world, and we have one person to thank for that. But was this all really just blind faith? Did Shanks truly rest the fate of the world on a gut feeling, on a desire to protect a friend? Maybe, but I'd like to give him more credit. In fact, I believe that Shanks has the ability to see the future. This is not a huge surprise considering he's an emperor. We've seen Kaido do it. But when it comes to Shanks, I think he can see much, much further ahead. This power is the true ace up his sleeve, allowing him to party and drink all day until the time is right to strike, and strike hard. Has anyone else ever noticed how Shanks always seems to be in the right place at the right time? How he always seems to be one step ahead? As the title of this video suggests, he commonly finds himself in the center of many coincidences. Luffy got into a fight with Higuma months later at complete random. Well, Shanks came back just in time to rescue Luffy. Ace goes looking for Teach. Shanks arrives on Whitebeard's ship, warning him to call it off, and what do you know, Ace is defeated and the Marineford War ensues. Kaido tries making a move on Whitebeard. Well, how lucky we are to have Shanks arrive and not only make it there in time to stop him, but make it back to the war just in time to end it and save Luffy's life. He even commended Kobe for buying him time, saying, quote, "For better or for worse, those few seconds of courage will profoundly influence the fate of this world." The next time we see him, he's meeting with the Gorosei to warn them, here it is again, about a certain pirate, and if we're assuming he's talking about Luffy, then that is some highly suspect timing, considering that Luffy awakens the Nika fruit not long after this conversation. There are too many coincidences here just to chalk it all up to Shanks having a good intelligence network. This guy is hungover half the time we see him, and even if he did get the news fast, it wouldn't explain his prophetic nature so far in the story. It's commonly thought that Shanks does not have a devil fruit power, and that he evens out the playing field by being a master of haki usage. More often than not, this leads people to believe that his Conqueror's haki is the most dangerous thing about him, but I think this is only the power that he wants people to see. That can't be all there is to him. He has no problem throwing his Conquerors around, but if I'm right here, he hides the thing that really gives him the edge. I truly believe that Shanks has developed his observation haki well past the point of Katakuri, Luffy, or even Kaido. Maybe somewhat comparable to Charlie, Shanks can see major tragedies or events coming in advance and thus acts on them faster than anybody else. This is why he's always where he needs to be at the perfect times, and why we have so much trouble predicting what he's going to do next. While we're at it, he always speaks in reference to the future, telling Luffy to wait 10 years before becoming a pirate, a statement which comes true by the way, asking him to return his hat someday, bringing warnings to others just before major events, talking about changing the fate of the world, so on and so forth. Minor point, but as we all know, Shanks is very much associated with the color red, and at least in the anime, red is used for depicting two types of haki: the lightning in Conqueror's haki, and more importantly, the red flash of the eyes whenever someone uses Future Sight. This red eye glare seems like a shoe-in for someone like Red Hair Shanks, especially because he has a signature eye scar. Even more interesting when we look back at his flag, featuring nothing but a skull with red streaks across his eye. If a pirate flag represents its captain, then what does this represent? His scar? Sure, but he's not known for the scar, he's known for his red hair. I know, it might be a stretch, maybe this is an actual coincidence, but I wanted to throw it on the list anyway. Regardless, this would all serve to explain how Shanks has been making moves behind the scenes, how he seems to know things that he shouldn't, and ultimately why he was able to place so much faith in Luffy, because he could literally see the future Luffy offered, just like Arthur's teacher Merlin could himself see the future. Now, there are probably a bunch of you getting ready to type up a comment, probably asking the obvious question. Well, if Shanks could see the future, wouldn't he have seen Luffy eating the fruit in advance? The thing is, Oda has demonstrated to us that Future Sight in One Piece isn't completely accurate. It only presents the future as things are currently headed without any interference. The problem is, the person seeing the future is only able to envision the outcome, not the steps in the process. Charlie, for example, could not understand the circumstances around Luffy destroying Fishman Island, only the outcome. Katakuri couldn't figure out why Pudding was going to cry, he just knew that it would happen somehow. And what makes this even harder for the Future Seer is that this future can be changed. In this example, we see Katakuri envision Luffy punching Mother Carmel's photo, but in reality, Brook breaks it with a hammer. While the outcome was pretty much the same, the minor details were changed. Beige makes the point clear shortly after. Everyone has an equal right to change the future, and so in Fuchsia Village, Shanks may have envisioned the fruit being eaten, maybe by Ace, but Luffy took the fruit out of the chest himself and changed that reality. While the fruit was still eaten, that part of the future hadn't changed. It was done by Luffy instead, completely changing the fate of the world. Is it possible that this is also what Shanks meant when he was speaking to Kobe? Were we due for a different reality until Kobe stepped in and bought Luffy and Shanks a few valuable seconds? Did Kobe change the future here? This also answers another complaint I've heard about the Gear 5 reveal. Some fans, rightfully so, are upset at the idea that Luffy may have been preordained as the Pirate King by means of fate or destiny, that it flies in the face of Luffy's dream and Oda's message, because if everything was fated to be, then Luffy is just a slave to destiny. Then Luffy can never be free. However, in Oda's world, the future is predictable but uncertain. It is malleable, changeable, and to be determined. The waves of destiny cannot be stopped. Instead, they can be guided and influenced in a different direction. When Luffy ate the Gum Gum fruit, the future was changed. When Shanks saw the future that Luffy could create, he put his full trust in the boy to make that possibility a reality. At any point in this journey, Luffy could have failed, but he didn't. Why? In a world where the government has brought stagnation and control for 800 years, where countries like Wano are unchanging and isolated, where the 4 emperors have remained at the top for decades uncontested, Luffy is one of the few with a strong enough will and desire to change all that. No matter what horrible thing is in store for Luffy, or if he has a 1% chance of survival, he will fight tooth and nail to change that future. Luffy is not a slave to destiny, but rather, he is free from it. He will come to his own conclusion. I think Shanks is on a mission to reunite Joy Boy with the One Piece. Back in the Oden flashback, we see Shanks say goodbye to Roger, but they exchange some words in private that we never get to hear. It's safe to assume that these words were important, and that Roger and Shanks have a relationship built on deep trust, as he is the one Roger chose to entrust his hat to. But what did they talk about? Is this conversation the source of Shanks' future agenda? I can't say, but if I had to guess, I'd propose that there is a plan to all this. In my mind, headcanon, or whatever you want to call it, the mission is as follows. Find the Gomu Gomu no Mi, find the one who can become Joy Boy, influence that person to become a pirate, protect the One Piece from the wrong people, and maintain the balance of the world until Joy Boy arrives at Laugh Tale. Shanks has already accomplished the first 3 things on this list, and he is very likely already doing the other 2 as Luffy goes about his journey. I believe that Shanks is actively attempting to prevent people like Teach from finding the One Piece, which is why he came to Whitebeard with a warning and discouraged the aging captain from falling for Teach's trap. When that didn't work, he stopped Kaido from going to Marineford, and upon arrival effectively ended the war. Point is, he's always looking to mediate and negotiate with the other major powers, including both pirates and marines. We see him do it plenty of times, and it's clear that Shanks has a knack for diplomacy. He somehow even gets an audience with the Gorosei, and we've heard the Gorosei talk about how the balance of power in the world is falling apart. Shanks is trying to maintain that balance for as long as possible, probably until he sees Luffy again. And for similar reasons, I believe that Red Hair is also the last buffer or gatekeeper before any prospective pirate king makes it to Laugh Tale. He's the only one of the emperors not gunning it for the poneglyphs right now, and although he didn't set foot on the island with Roger, he was part of the journey there. Another big reason I see him as a guardian of the One Piece is because of his sword, which he named Griffin after the mythical creature. Griffins are thought to have been guardians and protectors who fought off evil and corruption, but interestingly they are also known to guard hidden, priceless treasures of a great variety. I've even seen some sources out there claim that griffins were said to guard the Holy Grail. And would you look at that, we're back to King Arthur. This theme of Arthurian legends comes up yet again. If there's anything that One Piece takes direct inspiration from, a major example would be the search for the Holy Grail, a legendary treasure said to grant eternal youth that sat square in the center of many Arthurian stories. Various adventurers would set out in search of it. No one knew what it looked like or what exactly it did, but it sure as hell single-handedly drove the plot for these old adventure stories, making the Holy Grail the earliest example of a storytelling MacGuffin, a prototype for the One Piece in a way. So if the Holy Grail was an inspiration for the One Piece, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that Oda borrowed from other elements of Arthurian literature for his story, like the Sword in the Stone for example. And if griffins did guard the Holy Grail, then maybe Shanks likewise guards the One Piece. While the world was collectively scrambling over the rise of piracy, fighting for supremacy, and struggling to keep order, Shanks laid low and took his time. He saw the moves being made and he saw the future ahead, maybe a future that he didn't entirely agree with, so he placed his pieces on the board, one by one, little by little, and nudged the world in just the right direction for the sake of his grand plan. And now that Joy Boy has finally returned, the goal is just in sight. Soon, Luffy and Shanks will meet again, and only then will the future become a lot more clear. Until that happens, I hope this was at least an interesting take on the subject that gets you guys thinking. I don't expect to hit the mark completely with this theory, but I do think it's a fun idea, and I'd love to hear what you guys think Shanks is hiding. What do you make of the first chapter now that we know the truth about the Gum Gum fruit? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, thank you once again for landing on the Hidden Island. We hope you've enjoyed the show today because we sure enjoyed putting it on. Till next time, have a beautiful day, a pleasant night, and a wonderful romance dawn.